Hello, and welcome to the Borealis Experience. I'm your host, Aurora, life coach and companion on this beautiful journey called life. I hope you feel safe. I hope you feel good about yourself. I hope you feel supported, empowered, inspired. I hope you feel yourself. Isn't that the most important thing? To feel that we are living our truth, expressing our truth. I believe that is so incredibly important. What I'm here to do with my podcast is to create a space for you where you can recharge your batteries, reflect and rest, and make sure that you are on the right path for yourself. Learn to set boundaries, learn to understand who you are and make the decisions that are best for you. And the better you feel about yourself, the better person you can be out there for other people as well. It is incredible how when we try to be supportive of others and understanding others, and if we don't feel good about ourselves, it is extremely exhausting, draining. Sometimes we even lack empathy. And as soon as we start taking care of ourselves first, and then once our batteries are fully charged, go out there to help others, support others, inspire others, it is a way different dynamic and it is way more sustainable. Make sure to check out Aurora Eggert Coaching, where you can find out more about my coaching and how I could help you to become your best version of yourself. And if you want to send a token of appreciation, if you want to make sure that this podcast is sustainable and keeps going, send me a coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. I have the link in the show notes, and I would so appreciate support from you and feedback. If you want to give me a feedback, send me a review on Apple Podcast. That's also incredibly valuable for me to know what I could do differently or what you especially value in my show. I deeply appreciate you, and I'm so proud of you for choosing this path of self-discovery. It is not always easy. It is, in fact, very tough at times. So if you're listening, I know that you are a strong personality. I know you have a growth mindset, because if you didn't have those, then you wouldn't be listening. All right, let's dive into today's episode. I promised you guys on Facebook. By the way, join me there, Aurora Eggert Coaching, or just Aurora Eggert, my profile. I'm always happy to connect with you, and I gladly take in episode requests. This episode was kind of requested by a listener, a very dear listener, John. If you're listening, thank you so much for being here. He didn't directly request it, but we had a discussion after last episode. And this is why I decided to talk about our thoughts and feelings and how they influence our life. What comes first? Where do thoughts and feelings come from? And how can we influence them? It is so important to understand your own mind, because if you can use your mind to your advantage, you can tap into your true potential. You can be your true self, and you can make decisions that are incredible and valuable, not only for you, but they're going to impact the people around you as well. So where do thoughts and feelings come from? I want to go back to when you were born. Imagine yourself struggling your way out of the womb into this world, and just imagine what happens in that instance. It doesn't matter if you came out as a C-section baby or natural. Through the natural way, you were very well protected. You didn't have to ask for anything. Everything was provided. You are in this beautiful warm womb that protects you and nurtures you 24/7. And all of a sudden, you are thrown into this world. You land on planet Earth, hopefully smoothly, hopefully without any big drama. It's very interesting. A lot of therapy goes all the way back to your birth, because if you struggled throughout your birth, the birth process, it deeply affects how you perceive the world. So if, for instance, the umbilical cord was strangled around your neck and you were half dead when you came out, right, because you didn't have enough oxygen, that's a pretty rough start. And these people usually are the most crazy, goodest warriors out there, because they had to go through so much struggle in the first couple hours on planet Earth already. Maybe you had a very smooth birth. Fact is that from then on, from the moment on you were born, you had to start communicating. Your mom is not given a manual, and so is not your dad. They both do their best, what they've learned from their parents, from society, from, I don't know how you call these classes where you go, like prenatal classes, I think you call them. And they do their best, and you do your best to communicate what you need. Now, it is very important for you to have your needs met, for you to have clothing, shelter, for you to have it warm enough but not too warm, for you to have water and food and sleep. So, if your parents do a good job and jump whenever you need food or milk or water, then that's awesome. But if your parents were busy with something else, maybe with other siblings, maybe with trying to have enough money to raise you guys, to raise you, then it can happen that people are distracted and they can't jump whenever you need something. And the point why I'm going all the way back is that it is from an infant age that you experience your environment and you make certain conclusions about yourself first. Whenever you're not being fed on time, your baby brain makes the conclusion, I am not important. I'm being neglected. Other people are more important than me, and my needs don't matter. Up until the age of 7, your consciousness, your brain, everything you take in, you can imagine your brain like a little sponge, like you suck everything in and you make conclusions about yourself. It is only later that you will make conclusions about other people, when they disappoint you, when they don't show up, when they hurt you, when they manipulate you. Then you will start making conclusions about others. Sometimes it's as late as in your teenage years or 20s. So we make certain conclusions about ourselves, and those are beliefs, thoughts that we have about ourselves. Now, they can be very positive or very, very negative, as you can imagine. Also, the way your family raises you. Your family has certain belief systems. They might be religious. They might be attached to a status in society. It is very diverse. Whatever your family values are and what your family believes in, you will most likely copy and paste. And so it starts that our little brain, our mind, is being conditioned to think a certain way. It is incredibly important to go all the way back and to explore the conditions and the thoughts, the beliefs that were planted into your brain, and to, when you are at this point where you're at right now, where you listen to this episode and are very curious about where thoughts and feelings come from, that you ask yourself, if you were to imagine the beliefs and conditions from your family as a little backpack, how heavy of a backpack are you carrying? And is this backpack and everything it has inside of it serving you? Or can you start questioning the thoughts and belief system that you have about yourself and other people, society, life in general, the world in general, because they're not serving you anymore? So whenever something happens, we will have a belief system in place. If you are a person who was a little bit neglected in their younger years and you felt that your needs didn't matter, and later on you meet friends, you meet a partner who is just a little bit, out there, extroverted, busy with their own life, but super loving and kind, you will feel abandoned or neglected once again, because you have downloaded onto your little baby brain that people that are close to you, the first ones were your parents, your caregivers, and now it's your friends and your lovers or lover, that they will disappoint you and hurt you at some point. And through coaching, we go back in time and we find out which belief you have downloaded back then, which you are trying to find a match to in your adult years. So in this case, we have downloaded our needs don't matter, we're being neglected. So this is going to happen in our relationships as well. And now it turns out that when you are in relationships, when you start a friendship or with your long-term friendships, you are fairly insecure and maybe even avoidant. Maybe you are aggressively clingy, but it is because you went through that pain in your early stages of life. So your thoughts are very, very much attached to your conditioning by society, family, friends, your environment. And it is possible to reframe and to override or change the belief system that you downloaded back then in order to change your thoughts. But it is very hard to change your thoughts and not change what you have downloaded in early years. It's kind of, if you see your brain as a computer, there's the hardware, the software, and we have to go down to the hardware and reframe how you started seeing the world back then in order for you to enjoy beautiful, nurturing relationships in your adult life. For you to see situations as what they are instead of having preconceived thoughts about how a love story is going to go down. So your thoughts are also deeply attached to your body and to your emotions. I talk about this in my first 2 seasons. And by the way, my podcast is a progression. It's growth. It's a progress. So if you're just jumping in today with this episode, awesome. I'm so happy to have you. And if you want to get the most out of my podcast here, go back to season 1 and start from there, because you're going to go through an incredible journey of growth and getting to know yourself if you do that. But there in season 1 and 2, I talk about how your body is going to try to signal you in very subtle ways that it needs something from you. And if we keep ignoring that we're thirsty, that we're tired, that we're hungry, that we're feeding our body with food that is not really nurturing, but just filling, your body will come up with sensations, with pain, with illnesses, with discomfort, and that will affect your thoughts. It is coming out now through intense scientific research that your physical well-being is deeply affecting your mental health, your emotions, and in turn, your thought process. The better your body feels, the healthier you are, the more positive your thoughts can be about yourself and other people. So I want to describe it as a triangle. So at the tip of the triangle, you have the thoughts, and then on the right corner of the triangle, you have emotions, and then you have your body on the bottom left tip of the triangle, and they communicate constantly. What I ask my clients first in the first session is how good their sleep is. Your sleep is going to affect your mental health, but intensely your physical health to an extent that is so incredibly fascinating. It's just so crazy good. If you don't get enough sleep, your thoughts, the way you view the world, the filter of the lens through which you see other people and the world is going to be so dark and distorted if you don't get enough sleep, that some people really have a change of character happening if their sleep starts to suffer. And again, go back to the triangle. Your sleep usually suffers because you are going through something. Your mind is racing. Your thoughts are trying to problem solve, and you're trying to get some sleep at night, but you just are not tired enough to sleep. And it's a total mess and shit show and vicious cycle, because if your mind is not at peace, your body will also not want to rest, because it's just not possible. And that triangle we want to keep in check, in balance at all times, because as soon as the body doesn't get what it needs, it's going to mess up with the mind and the thoughts in doing so, and the emotions. And if you feel weird emotionally, right now I'm going through a situation where my father lost his best friend, and my father is suffering intensely, and I'm so far away from him, and I don't know how to support him. So intense pain because of loss and grieving of another person trigger intense emotions of sadness and powerlessness, and that in turn affects my sleep, affects the way I think. When you go to your thoughts, we have preconceived thoughts, as I said earlier, because we are conditioned by our society and by our family. And this is why it is so incredibly important to get out there and to travel. And if COVID doesn't allow it, to meet people online or to watch documentaries from cultures, from different backgrounds, because you need to keep an open mind in order to have a healthy mind. You need to understand that every person has a different map of the world. And if you want to deeply connect with a person, you need to understand how they view the world. And when somebody understands the way you think, the way you make conclusions, it is incredibly refreshing, and you feel understood and loved, right? So if you can do that for another person, it's incredibly valuable in order to build healthy relationships. Now, all this to say, relationships are our life. We're constantly in relationship. We are in relationship to ourselves, to our body, to our environment, to nature, and to the people around us. And the people around us are going to trigger thoughts inside of us because we have maybe a painful memory to something that they are doing right now. And it reminds us of something that happened back then. And your relationship to time is also so incredibly interesting to look at, because your mind can travel back in time and can also go into the future, right? When you are anxious, what if, what is going to happen, uncertainty, blah, blah, blah. You think about the future. When you get depressed and regretful, You think about the past. You think about stuff that you have done or that has been done to you. So your mind and your relationship to time is also incredibly important to look at, because you can travel in time. You're not only in calendar time, we call it, where you look at your calendar and it is June 28th, 4 p.m. Tomorrow is June 29th, Aurora's birthday, and she's very excited to celebrate her birthday on a sunny day at the lake. So you have the calendar time, that is the now, and you have the mind time, that is wherever your mind chooses to travel to. And usually it travels back in time, memory, disappointments, pain. And if you know that your mind will always try to protect you at all cost, it will cling to negative feelings and experiences you had in the past and will try to protect you from having to go through that pain again. And sometimes your mind is trying to protect you from stuff that happened in the past to not get hurt in the future, to a point that it cripples you, that it doesn't allow you to be yourself anymore, that it is overly protective. And that is another thing that we address through coaching, to see where are you at now and where does your mind spend most of its time. Is it anxiously in the future or depressed in the past? And how can we get you to enjoy the present moment and to see what is in front of you and not some weird distorted version through a filter? Another concept that is super interesting is your mind location. You can also travel location-wise. Maybe throughout COVID, you really didn't like where you were at, and at night or even during the day, you were daydreaming of being in another place. Or you were traveling back in time to a specific place. And whenever you drive through a place that is similar or reminds you of that place that you visited in the past and something bad happened, again, your mind is going to come up with its protective system and will try to protect you at all cost, and is going to have all the alarm clocks going off because it doesn't want you to go through pain again. And this is how we can explain anxiety. Anxiety is supposed to protect you. It's a good thing. But sometimes it's trying to protect you from something that is long gone, that is in the past. And of course, you're not going to go through that pain again because now you've learned from your experiences. So sometimes your mind is hooked into a loop of negative thinking and experiences and emotional pain, because with negative thinking, negative emotions will come up, which affect your body. Think of the triangle again. And to get out of the loop, you need to do 1 degree changes. Not 10, not 20, not 100%, but 1 degree changes to slowly get yourself out of this negative, anxious, or depressed thinking pattern, and to steer your system, your life into a direction that is true to yourself and not to the version that is struggling and feels threatened and is in survival mode. You are in a safe place, you are in a good place, and you are about to break through. Because if you're listening to this, if you're visiting Aurora Eggert Coaching and find out, okay, there's a match, there's something I want to go deeper in with Aurora, then we can get you onto a path that is right for you, away from those thoughts that are holding you back and making you play small. All right, this was a big episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was able to bring you value and joy and inspiration and empowerment. You are so incredibly precious and unique. And I'm always excited to connect with you guys over Facebook. Reach out to me and make sure to subscribe to my podcast here. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be out there very soon again for you.